Here's a sentence that shouldn't make sense. The highest earner in your office will probably never retire, and one of the lowest earners might be done by 45. Same building, same years, opposite endings. Take Robert. Right now, on a random Tuesday, he's making coffee in his sweatpants. 47, no alarm, no commute, never going back to work. Now, take Zoe, 3 desks down for 2 decades, who out-earned him every year. She's crawling through the same traffic she's sat in since her 20s, oat milk latte in the cup holder of a leased SUV she still owes 30 grand on. One number explains why Robert got out and Zoe didn't. Not salary, not luck, not some inheritance. My name is Nick, and I've spent way too long studying why a few people slip out of work decades early, while everyone else clocks in till they're gray. Today I'll hand you that number, the math under it, and how to find yours. And stick around because I'll show you the exact moment Robert's account flipped from crawling to exploding. Before we go further, one thing, because the internet has rotted everyone's brain on this topic. When most people hear retire before 50, they picture a tech guy who sold a startup or somebody who threw his savings into a meme coin and got lucky. That is not this. This is boring. This is math. And the boring math is the only version that actually works for a normal person on a normal salary. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice. This is just what happens when you stare at the same spreadsheets for years and start noticing the pattern nobody says out loud. Here's the plan. First, the one number that decides your retirement date and why it barely involves your income. Then the real target you're aiming at, which, fair warning, is bigger in 2026 than the gurus admit. Then the 3 levers that get you there, how you legally touch your retirement money before 59 and a half, and the one catch nobody likes to mention. By the end, you'll be able to do the napkin math on your own freedom date. Let's get into it. So here's the number. It's your savings rate, not your income, not your job title. The percentage of your take-home pay that you keep and invest instead of spend, that single percentage decides how many years you have left to work, and once you see the relationship, you can't unsee it. Let me lay it out. If you save 10% of your take-home pay, which by the way is already better than most Americans are doing, you're looking at roughly 51 years until you can retire. 51. That's not a typo, that's a whole career. Now bump that savings rate to 25%, suddenly you're down to about 32 years. Push it to 50%, and the whole thing collapses to around 17 years. That's the line where this stops being a spreadsheet and starts being a decision. Save 65%, and you're out in about 10 and a half. 75%, and it's roughly 7 years from broke to done. And read that again because it's genuinely strange. The difference between working 51 years and working 17 is not a raise. It's not a promotion. It's a decision about how much of your own paycheck you let yourself spend. Here's what makes this so much more powerful than just earn more. When you cut your spending, you're not pulling one lever, you're pulling 2 at once. Think about it. Every dollar you stop spending is a dollar you can now invest, so your savings go up. But that same dollar also lowers the amount you need to live on for the rest of your life, which means the finish line slides toward you. Earning more only does the first thing. Spending less does both. It's like a video game where the final boss gets weaker every time you level up. That is not how the system is supposed to work. And that's exactly why it's so good. So pause this for 10 seconds and run it on your own paycheck. Say you take home $60,000 a year, live on 30, invest the other 30, that's a 50% savings rate, and the table says 17 years and you're free. Live on 54 and invest 6, that's 10%. And the same table says you're working until you're basically a fossil, same job. Same 60 grand. The only thing that changed was where the decimal point in your spending lands. This is also why a big income all by itself retires absolutely nobody. Sit with this one. A person earning $500,000 a year who spends all $500,000 has a savings rate of 0. Their freedom date is never. They will die at their desk in a very nice chair. Meanwhile, the person earning a third of that, who quietly banks half of what they make, is on track to walk away in under 20 years. Same planet, completely different outcome, and the only thing that changed was the ratio. Remember Robert in his sweatpants not setting an alarm? That's the whole secret. Robert wasn't a genius, and he didn't win anything. Robert just quietly kept about half of every paycheck for years while everyone around him spent theirs. Zoe, who out-earned him the entire time, kept almost none of hers. Same income, and one of them bought back 20 years of his life. So now you know the lever. The obvious next question is, the lever toward what? How much money does done forever actually require? Because there's a specific target. And in 2026, it's spicier than the rule everyone quotes. For about 30 years, the answer to how much do I need has come down to one rule. It's called the 4% rule, and it's simpler than it sounds. You take your annual spending and multiply it by 25. That's your number, hit it, and in theory, you can pull 4% of it every year, adjust for inflation, and never run out. Where'd it come from? Back in 1994, a financial planner named William Bengen ran the numbers on every ugly market in modern history, the crashes, the 70s, all of it, and found that 4% was the rate that survived even the worst starting years, and 4% became gospel. So if you spend $40,000 a year, your number is $1 million. Spend $60,000 and it's $1.5 million. But here's where I have to be honest with you, because most videos won't be. That 4% rule was built for a 30-year retirement, a 65-year-old. If you're trying to stop at 45, your money might need to last 50 years, not 30. And a rule designed for 30 gets shakier the longer you stretch it. On top of that, we're not in 1994. As I'm recording this, the stock market is historically expensive. Near valuation levels we've only seen a couple of times in the last 100 years, and when you buy in at prices that high, the next decade of returns tends to come in lower, not higher. Buying stocks at today's prices is a bit like rolling up to the open bar at 2 in the morning. Sure, you can still get a drink, just don't act shocked when the free part is basically over. Vanguard, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, none of them are forecasting the fat returns of the last 10 years. They're all whispering some polite version of temper your expectations. What does that mean for you? It means for a really long retirement starting in today's market, a lot of careful researchers now suggest pulling closer to 3.5% instead of 4%. And that nudges your target from 25 times your spending up toward 30 times. I know, the number just got bigger and I can feel you reaching for the back button. Don't, because here's the thing. The target being 30 times instead of 25 changes your finish line by a couple of years. Your savings rate changes it by decades. The lever still wins, it always wins. So let's talk about how to actually pull it. There are only 3 levers in this entire game: earn more, spend less, and invest the gap. That's it. Anybody selling you a fourth lever is selling you something. We've already established that spending less is the magic one because it does double duty. But let me give you the silent killer that quietly murders most people's early retirement dreams. And it's not a market crash, it's the raise. Here's how it goes. You get a raise, you're thrilled, and within about 2 months, the nicer apartment, the upgraded car, the slightly fancier groceries, all of it absorbs the entire raise, and you feel exactly as broke as you did before. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. I call it the reason Zoe is still in traffic. Every time Zoe's pay went up, her lifestyle went up to match it. A bigger place, the least SUV, the latte that costs as much as lunch, perfectly. Like the two were holding hands. Raise after raise, and her savings rate never budged. Robert did the opposite. When Robert got a raise, he kept living like he hadn't gotten one. The raise went straight into the market. Boring, unsexy, and it's the entire ball game. Now, the gap you're investing, where does it actually go? Mostly into broad, boring index funds that own basically the whole market, held inside tax-advantaged accounts that let your money grow without the government taking a bite every year. We're talking your 401k, especially up to whatever your employer matches, because a match is free money, and turning down free money should honestly be a crime. Then a health savings account if you qualify, the most tax-friendly account in America, and almost nobody uses it right. Then an IRA, then back to maxing the 401k, and finally a regular brokerage account. But here's the thing about compounding you need to make peace with. It is painfully, insultingly slow at the start. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's late business partner, put it bluntly. He said the first $100,000 is, and I'm quoting a billionaire here, a bitch. His point was that early on, almost all your growth comes from your own deposits, your own sweat, because the snowball is still tiny. There's nothing to compound yet. But once it gets big enough, it grows more from market returns than from anything you add. Which brings us to the objection I can already hear you typing into the comments. Nick, this is all very nice, but my money's locked in retirement accounts until I'm 59 and a half. How am I supposed to retire at 45 and just stare at it? Great question. The answer is going to surprise you, because here's the truth almost nobody explains. You can't touch it until 59 and a half thing is, for the most part, a myth. There are completely legal IRS approved trapdoors out of that rule, and early retirees have been quietly using them for decades. The most popular one is called a Roth conversion ladder, and despite the intimidating name, the idea is simple. Each year, you take a chunk of money from your traditional retirement account and convert it into a Roth account. You pay a little tax on it that year, then you wait 5 years. After those 5 years, that converted money comes out completely free, no penalty, no drama. So you set up an assembly line, convert a year of expenses, wait, convert again, wait, and after the first 5 years, a fresh batch unlocks every single year for the rest of your life. It's the most boring conveyor belt on earth, except instead of cardboard boxes, it spits out a tax-free year of your life every 12 months. The only catch is you need something to live on during that first 5-year wait, which is where a normal brokerage account steps in as a bridge. Now, the second trapdoor has a thrilling government name, Rule 72T. It lets you take steady, equal withdrawals from a retirement account early, penalty-free, as long as you commit to keeping them going for at least 5 years. It's powerful, but it's rigid, and the IRS does not have a sense of humor about it. You break the schedule, and they retroactively slap the penalties back on with interest. So it's very much a measure twice, cut once situation. And the simplest trapdoor of all, your Roth contributions, the money you personally put into a Roth, can come out anytime at any age, tax and penalty free, because you already paid the tax going in. People forget this constantly. So no, your money is not sealed in a vault you can't open until you're nearly 60. With about 10 minutes of planning, it's more like a vault with a side door, a back door, and a window somebody left unlocked. The lockup excuse is dead, which means the only real wall left standing between a normal person and early retirement is the one expense that terrifies everybody. And honestly, it should. Let's talk about health insurance, because in America, that's the final boss. In most of the world, this section wouldn't need to exist. In America, it might be the most important 90 seconds of this whole video. If you retire before 65, you're too young for Medicare, which means until then, you're buying your own health insurance on the open market, and that can be brutally expensive. For an older couple in their early 60s, the sticker price can run well over $1,000 a month each before any help kicks in. That's the number that keeps people chained to a job they can't stand purely for the benefits. But, and this is the beautiful, slightly sneaky part, the financial help you get for that insurance is based on your taxable income, not your wealth. And early retirees have a strange superpower. They can have $1 million+ in the bank and still show a very low income on paper because they're living off Roth withdrawals and savings that don't count as taxable income. So a fully retired millionaire can completely legally look broke to the system and qualify for serious discounts on health insurance. It's basically a cheat code America left in the game by accident, and it's one of the only times in life the math bends in your favor instead of away from you. I do have to flag one thing you verify before you make any moves. The rules on these subsidies keep changing, and 2026 brought back some harsher cutoffs that were softened for a few years. So the exact thresholds are a moving target. The strategy, keep your taxable income low and control your own healthcare costs, is rock solid. The specific dollar lines, you check those the week you actually pull the trigger. Not before, and not from a YouTube video, including this one. Okay, Let's go back to Robert on that Tuesday morning in the sweatpants. I promised I'd show you the moment his account flipped, so here it is. For the first 10 or 12 years, Robert's account looked deeply unimpressive. He was saving like a maniac, and the balance just sort of crawled. Plenty of nights he wondered if he was sacrificing for nothing. That's the slow part. That's the part where almost everybody quits. But because his savings rate was so high, two things were happening quietly underneath. His pile was getting big, and the amount of life he needed to fund was staying small. And somewhere around year 12, the snowball got heavy enough that the market started doing more of the work than he was. The line stopped crawling and started to bend. By his mid-40s, his investments were growing in a good year by more than he used to earn at his job. Picture that for a second, a pile big enough to throw off $40,000 or $50,000 in a decent year, while Robert does nothing but sip his coffee. At some point, his money quietly got a full-time job, so he didn't have to keep one. He didn't get rich on a Tuesday, he got rich slowly and then all at once. That's what freedom actually looks like. It's not a yacht. It's a Tuesday with no alarm and a coffee you're in no rush to finish. And here's the thing, that Tuesday isn't really Robert's, it's yours if you want it. Same math, same boring levers, same quiet snowball. He just started pulling them before you did. And look, the question I get asked more than any other every single time I explain this is, okay, Nick, but where do I actually start? That's honestly the whole reason I put together a school community, a spot where I walk through this exact stuff, the accounts, the order, the napkin math step by step with people doing it for real. This video is basically the trailer. No pressure, it'll be down in the description because here's what I really need you to hear. If you've been feeling behind, like everyone figured out money except you, I promise you didn't fail some test. Nobody ever taught you the one ratio that runs the whole machine. You just learned it. That's the actual starting line. But I'd be lying to you, and this channel isn't built on lying to you if I let you click away thinking this is easy. It is not. Here's the honest catch. A 50% savings rate is dramatically easier when you make a lot of money. If you earn $150,000, living on half is uncomfortable. If you earn the median income, living on half means living on roughly $40,000 a year. And if you've got kids or a medical thing, or you live somewhere expensive, that ranges from really hard to not happening right now. Anyone who tells you early retirement is equally easy at every income is selling a course and a dream. A lot of the famous early retirees, if you read the fine print, were quietly pulling six figures. That matters, and I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, and this is the part I actually want you to walk away with, the lever works at every income. It just works slower at some. You don't have to leap from 10% to 50% tomorrow. Going from saving 10% to saving 20, just 20, pulls your retirement in by roughly 14 years. 14 years of your life bought back with one adjustment most people never even attempt. Zoe never attempted it. She had every advantage more income than Robert the whole way. And she's still sitting in that same traffic, still making payments on the SUV because nobody ever showed her the number. Somebody just showed you. You don't have to retire at 45. That was never really the point. The point is that the choice exists, the math is real, and the only thing standing between you and it is a percentage you actually control. Go figure out your number this week. And if you want a hand running it, you already know where to find me. I'm Nick. I'll see you in the next one.